So yeah, I guess I'll just get started. I'm currently in a mentorship with a kind of functional medicine guy who focuses on health coaching and nutrition, which, as you guys know, I do that on the side, apart from my full-time job with Aleco. So he made a really awesome webinar for us clients that he has, explaining what he currently knows about COVID and just through research, through mentors that he has. And he just basically wanted to arm us with materials that we can spread to our clients or to those that we know, our loved ones, family, friends, whatever, of what the current research right now, today, what's today's date? March 29th says. Now, this could change in an hour. This could change tomorrow. But even in the last month, from what people were saying a month ago of what to do for supplements and health and things like that to now has drastically changed. So I just want to address some of those things because a lot of people are capitalizing on this time period and they're trying to sell their supplements or push things, and they're not really looking to the research and what science says. So as of right now, everything that I'm going to present to you is not of my own volition. It's not, I didn't make it up. It's from my mentor, Travis, and then from someone that he found. The guy's name is actually Dr. John. I will try to, here, let me pull it up real quick. Chris Masterjohn. He has a PhD and he's putting out newsletters on this, and he's really taking a kind of a head-on approach to make sure people are informed on this. So with that, we'll just kind of get started. My focus here is how we can bolster our health in the midst of this COVID. Now, this is specific to just coronavirus and what is happening right now. So out of all the other things that we are susceptible to in life, which are a lot, this is going to be specific to this virus and our current situation. With everything that I'm about to say, none of it matters if we're not focusing on the simple stuff, if we're not staying hydrated, if we're not focusing on our sleep, not eating, healthy foods, and that's a relative term, avoiding things like alcohol, sugar, and processed foods, and things that are going to have more inflammation in our body. The more inflammation we have in our body, the more susceptible we are to chronic disease, illness, whatever it may be, because our body's at a weakened state. If all of our immune fighters are out there, just trying to get the normal inflammation we have in our body down, then they're already deployed in our body. And if something new comes in, a virus, a bacteria, something bigger, they're weakened. The forces are already deployed, and we want to be putting ourselves in a state that those forces can be harnessed so that they're ready to be used when we really need them. So I just want to make that as like a caveat side note before we start. So I put a super short little paragraph at the beginning here because we kind of need to set the stage. And the first thing is, when we're talking about viruses, what you have to understand is that they need our cells to replicate, right? They have to use our DNA or RNA to make more of themselves. They don't replicate on their own. They hijack us and then replicate themselves. They're little virus houses all over our body. So we know that about COVID. It's actually RNA specific. That doesn't really matter. But it's also a lipid based. So what that means is COVID has this like lipid-based membrane around it, and that allows it to slip past our immune system sometimes. But the cool thing is, which is why everyone's saying, wash your hands, do this, things that are lipid-based, think about it. When you have fats and you're cooking and you're washing your dishes, soap does what? Penetrates and breaks down that lipid layer. Same thing with COVID. So it in our body allows it to do more damage. But outside of our body, it's a good thing to know that soaps and things like that are able to break down lipids are going to break down the membrane of COVID and allow it to die, roughly speaking. Now, lasts for surfaces, some say 1 day to 5 days to 9 days. The types of surfaces it lasts on are things like rubber, glass, Teflon. As we get into soon, copper is actually toxic to it. So that's a supplement that we will talk about. Now, the last most important thing about COVID is a mechanism that it uses that makes it super tricky, and that makes it more, I guess, successful in hurting its hosts, hurting us. And that is the fact that it uses ACE2. I'm not going to get biological. I'm not going to pretend to be some PhD microbiologist here, But basically, ACE2 is something that our body naturally produces, which is a good thing. It helps with our blood pressure. It helps with bolstering our immune system. It helps with our lungs. And it's naturally upregulated by vitamin A and vitamin D. And that's a good thing on an everyday basis, but not in the current crisis we're living in, because coronavirus hijacks or hops onto ACE2 to infiltrate our cells. ACE2 goes into our cells, and so corona uses that to get into our cells quicker. So a month ago, people were saying, take vitamin A, up your doses, all the vitamin C you can get, vitamin D, just, go crazy. But if you're following my train of thought here, that vitamin A and D upregulates ACE2, which is going to what? Give corona more options to jump onto if we do come in contact with it and do its little process that it wants to do. So with that being said, we want to make sure that we are not just blanketly supplementing with vitamin A and vitamin D or eating extreme amounts of those things, because it can in fact be helping corona do what it needs to do. Moving on from there, what we also know about coronavirus is that what it does, there's something called interferons in our body, and it's a normal immune system response. And they also get upregulated or made more of when we have things like cytokines. And if you know much about inflammation in the body, cytokines are kind of the same as histamines. Histamines are an allergic response. So all these things are in a response to inflammation, and it's a normal process of our body. What coronavirus does is it comes in and it stops interferons from being made, which is a normal process that our body needs to. It down-regulates our body's ability to do that. Then, using our own immune system against us, once COVID has populated and it's replicated itself to a high enough point, it flips the switch. And what it was stopping, it opens the floodgates and allows interferons to come in huge quantities. At this point, COVID has, populated itself around the lungs. And so these interferons, perfectly good things, but not when they're held off and then replicated super fast, attacks the lungs. And it's too much inflammation for the body. Sometimes our body causes more inflammation to heal, like a swollen ankle, right? And then the inflammation goes down eventually. This is the same principle. So something that's supposed to be good, COVID uses against us, and that's how it attacks the lungs, and that's normally when people die or the the virus gets really bad in terms of symptoms for them. So I just wanted to say all that so you guys have a little bit of a background. This is currently what we know about it, of how it works, why it does what it does, why it's tricky and different. And with that same train of thought, the whole interferon thing that I just explained, the reason we don't want to take crazy amounts of vitamin C is because vitamin C, there's conflicting studies. Some say it increases our interferons in our body. Some say it decreases. Either way, we're not sure. So let's just not blanketly dose up our vitamin C when in fact it could be making us worse off if we came into contact with coronavirus and it was able to replicate in our body. So with all that, just setting the stage for, basically, we want to make sure that we're taking the appropriate supplements, not overtaking them, because having an overly bolstered immune system can be something that coronavirus will use against us. So going on from there, here is what we can do. This is what is currently recommended. And as soon as I know, guys, I will let you know if these things change. The only bad thing is I'm gonna tell you all this, then you're gonna like, okay, great, I got it. You're gonna go online, everything is sold out. Like, it is super hard to find things. So I would, notify me when it's back in stock. I bought some stuff today. Like, I bought some elderberry, and unfortunately it was like $64 because everyone bought the cheaper versions. So it just depends on what's available and what sites you check. If you have questions on that, please reach out to me and I'll let you know what sites I use. But to start off, elderberry is one of the main #1 supplements recommended. What are they basing this off of? Obviously, we don't know what works because we've never had this strain of virus before, but the coronaviruses are similar to SARS. And with the SARS virus, we found that elderberry prevents COVID from being able to connect that ACE2 that I talked about. So if it can't connect with ACE2, it can't hijack into the cell. So it directly stops it from being able to do that. So that is a huge benefit to be bolstered with elderberry in your system, So if you do come in contact with COVID, it's not able to use its normal course of action to infiltrate our body. So with that, we recommend 700 to 900 milligrams per day in split doses. So if you want to do 3 times a day, it's kind of whatever works for you, but split that up throughout the day. Now here's the cool thing. Ideally, what we want to do is have this. How does corona get into our bodies? Our mucosal membranes. So our mouth, our eyes, and our nose. So what we want to do is have like lozenges. So if you're going out in public and you have to, go grocery shopping or go to these places that are high risk, ideally you could have an elderberry lozenge in your mouth, and that's coating your mouth with elderberry, which is able to stop COVID from replicating like it needs to. That's an ideal situation. I can't find lozenges anywhere. They're all sold out. So if anything, you can just take the syrup or take the pill form. There's lots of options just to have it in your body. But ideally, we would like to cover those mucosal membranes, and that goes for almost all of these supplements. Second one, nutritional zinc. So nutritional zinc, you can either eat it or you can take a supplement. So with that, we know that zinc helps stop SARS. So SARS was affecting giving animals bronchitis and affecting their respiratory system. And using zinc allowed that to make the virus stop replication or lower its replication. So again, this is just assuming, we don't know for sure, but knowing that coronavirus is in the same realm as SARS, we would assume that zinc would be helpful. None of these are for sure, but it's just making correlations between what we do know about past viruses. So 7 to 15 milligrams of ionic zinc 3 to 4 times a day. So split up throughout the day. Again, ideally as zinc acetate lozenges. So again, it's in your mouth. And if you were to come into contact and breathe it in, or touch something and touch your mouth, it's going to bolster that interaction from causing any negative side effects. Now, ways to eat zinc. I tried this today. I do not recommend it. I can still smell my breath. It's absolutely terrible. But you take a clove of garlic, chop it up, expose it to the air for 10 minutes, and then eat it raw. My mouth was on fire. But there's a substance in garlic that was seen to, let me double check here what it was called. Allicin, which is in garlic. It's never been tested against coronavirus, but it has in the past combated at least 6 different viruses, like herpes, the common cold, bronchitis, pneumonia. And so what it does is, like I said, a coronavirus has a lipid membrane. It helps attack that and destroy that. So just having more of that in your body is going to be helpful. The other option is to take garlic powder, 4 grams, mix it in water, just by itself, nothing else. Let it sit for 10 minutes. I'm not sure what exposing it to air does, but it's an important step in the process, and then drink it. Last but not least, another type of something to eat is beta glucans. And an example of that is going to be in mushrooms. So to have half a cup of mushrooms. If you don't like mushrooms, if you blend up mushrooms in a smoothie, you don't even taste them. They're pretty much tasteless. And beta glucans are also really important, what's the word? Help with, again, defense mechanism to the coronavirus. So what types? Any form of mushroom. So any form of mushroom is going to give you that. Or organic oats is another option. So if you already eat organic oatmeal, you're doing good. Now to the right side, we have copper. So as I mentioned before, copper is toxic for coronavirus. So we can have 4 to 8 milligrams a day of ionic copper spray in the mouth. That's going to be their best option. Otherwise, you can get it from 2 milligrams of spirulina, which is, from the ocean, like algae, and they have that in pill form. Shiitake mushrooms, sesame seeds, I misspelled cacao, sorry, cacao powder. For that, you're really looking at like 70% to 90% dark chocolate is going to be helpful in that. So there you go. I'm prescribing dark chocolate, but again, look at the dosage, 2 milligrams. So we're not talking a whole chocolate bar here. And then other ways to so those are the copper options. And then to get zinc, again, more options for zinc are listed here. I'm not going to read them all. I'm going to give this PDF to you guys so you can look through that. But what you do not want to do is take zinc with any grains, nuts, seeds. It actually prevents it from being absorbed. So zinc wants to be on an empty stomach as long as you don't feel nauseous or can manage it, or just eat it with foods that don't have any grains, nuts, seeds, or legumes in them. Last thing I'm going to talk about is vitamin C. So I didn't want to scare you by saying that, vitamin D, vitamin A, and vitamin C or calcium could help coronavirus. That's not what I mean. What I mean is extremely high dosages of them can, because that's upregulating your immune system where we almost have too much. So you do want around 150 milligrams of vitamin C a day, eaten raw from natural nutritional sources. So I listed a bunch of options here: 3 to 4 ounces of green chili peppers, yellow or green bell peppers, guavas, currants, 2 servings of kale, broccoli, kiwi, jalapenos. And then after that, 3 to 5 servings of oranges, strawberries, pineapple, papayas, lemons. All of this is just kind of a natural way to get your vitamin C. And a serving, again, that's around like a nice handful, maybe almost a cup, but I wouldn't have 5 cups of strawberries a day. So more of the handful is going to be a good serving for your vitamin C. All right, so to recap, elderberry is helpful, zinc is helpful, copper. Just eating wise, you can do raw garlic, you can do beta glucans, and then eating foods with vitamin C in it. So to finish up, what to avoid. Again, we want to avoid super high doses of vitamin C, D, and calcium. Instead, you want to try to balance your calcium and phosphorus ratio. All that means is when you up dose with calcium, you have way more calcium than phosphorus in your body. And what we just want to make sure is that we have a fairly balanced amount. Normally, more calcium to phosphorus is good, but for right now, during this pandemic that we have going on, you just want to keep those balanced. I don't know the in-depth on that, but that's just the information I have to relate to you. You do want to get all these vitamin C, D, and A from things in nature, or vitamin D from being outside, although it's gloomy and raining for the past 3 days here in Illinois, but getting outside as much as you're able to. You want to eat as healthy as possible, getting fruits, veggies, lean meats, omega-3 fats, less processed foods, and you do want to try to get some fermented foods. So your kimchi, your sauerkraut, that is just really good for making sure your gut is in a healthy place, and your gut is your main source of immunity. It creates a lot of your immune cells, B cells, T cells, things like that. And I would obviously recommend being outside as much as possible, laughing, spending virtual time with loved ones, doing whatever you need to do to keep your endorphins up and your serotonin levels. And that's just going to help bolster your body and just your happiness in general. And last but not least, do try as much as you can to avoid alcohol, sugary, greasy foods. They're going to wreck your gut and just lower your immune system, depress your immune system, which is vital in a time like this to have as high as possible. So with that, I would take any questions that anybody has. I think it's just a few friends on the call, but do you guys have any questions for me?
Any questions? No questions.
No questions.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Very good. Yeah, so like I said, I'll give you guys these handouts, and then I also have a transcript from the webinar that I watched, that I got all this information from. So you can read it verbatim. It goes way more in depth than I went, and hopefully answers any other questions you may have. So thanks for watching, guys. If this seems like a lot, don't try to implement everything. Just pick a few things. I'm going to eat more of these foods and get this one supplement. But when you break it down, it's really not that hard to do. For me personally, the copper and the zinc and the elderberry, I bought in liquid form. And on Amazon, I bought aerosol, like little cans that you put the liquid in, and then it makes it spray. So it'll be as simple as me doing like 3 sprays, and then I'm good for the day. Throughout the day, 3 or 4 times a day to do that. Or if I'm going to go out in public, I'll be extra sure to do that. I did hear that the copper and zinc doesn't taste the best, obviously. But what you gonna do? So thank you for joining, and let me know if you have any questions. Bye.
All right. Bye. Thank you.